Welcome to ECR Argumentative Writing, a Guide to Scoring. In this video, we will look a little bit at how argumentative writing gets scored on state tests like the EOC and STAR test. The goal of this video is to help you understand what it takes to write an outstanding argumentative essay so that you can make the best possible score on your end of course exam. Anytime you receive a rubric for a project or a writing assignment, or any assignment for that matter, the most important thing you can do is to pay attention to that rubric. That's the key that's going to tell you how the person is going to grade what you are doing. And by knowing what they expect, you can do exactly what you need to do to get the grade you want. Now, on your STAR test, the rubric is found in its most basic form in the bulleted list that goes with your prompt. It will also remind you to clearly state your opinion, organize your writing, develop your ideas in detail, use evidence from the selection in your response, include a counter argument, and use correct spelling, capitalization, punctuation, and grammar. By using this bulleted list as a guide when writing, your argumentative essay will be effective and you should be able to earn the maximum number of points. You may be aware that essays are scored up to 3 points for development and organization of ideas and up to 2 points for conventions. Your essay will be graded by 2 human raters, and both of their scores will combine for a total of a possible 10 points. Your goal is to aim for 8 to 10 points, and you can absolutely achieve that score with some practice and effort on your part. Let's take a look at the Extended Constructed Response rubric for argumentative writing. Now remember that this type of ECR is in response to something you have read, where you will argue your position based on the prompt given. You will have a character limit of 2,300 characters, not including spaces. As you can see, for development and organization of ideas, there are 5 areas that your essay will be graded on: the argument, the counterargument, the organization, evidence, and expression of ideas. To be awarded 3 full points, effective essays have a clear and well-developed argument, a counterargument or arguments that are identified and refuted, effective organization, specific, well-chosen, and relevant evidence, and clear and effective expression of ideas. Notice in the other point columns, the 5 areas of argument, counterarguments, organization, evidence, and expression of ideas are partially developed, not developed, limited, minimal, not evident, insufficient, irrelevant, or ineffective. It's important to note that a student must score at least 1 point in this section of development and organization of ideas in order to be graded in the next section, conventions. So let's take a look at the conventions section of the rubric. The people rating your essay will be looking for a consistent command of grade level appropriate conventions, such as sentence construction, punctuation, capitalization, grammar, and spelling. If there is inconsistency or little to no command, a student will be awarded 1 point or none. So how about we try our hand at rating a student argumentative essay? Let's use this example from the classroom. Students were asked to read Night by Elie Wiesel. This work by Wiesel is a 1960 memoir based on his Holocaust experiences with his father in Nazi German concentration camps at Auschwitz and Buchenwald in 1944 and 1945, toward the end of the Second World War in Europe. Let's examine the ECR prompt carefully. It says, "The author keeps a mental catalog of things he never shall forget. Explore why Wiesel maintains these painful memories. Do you agree that he should keep them intact rather than forgetting them? Write a well-organized, argumentative essay that uses specific evidence from Knight to support your answer. As you can see in this prompt, it is clear that you are writing an argumentative essay. In some prompts that you may come across, it might say, write a letter arguing your position regarding something related to the reading. Or it might say, write a response presenting your argument for or against, again, something related to the reading. Regardless of what the prompt says, you are writing an essay. It is either going to be an informative essay or an argumentative one. And remember, the prompt will include the bulleted list below it. That bulleted list will also tell you what kind of writing you'll be doing. If the word thesis is stated in that list, then that word should automatically click in your brain that you are writing an informational essay. If the word opinion and the word counterarguments are used, then you know you are writing an argumentative essay. As we read the following student essay, I want us to consider the 5 key components from the argumentative rubric: argument, counterarguments, organization, evidence, and expression of ideas. Here is a student response to the ECR prompt we just read. I'll read the student essay and you can follow along. Elie Wiesel was a Romanian writer and a Holocaust survivor, among other things. His first novel, Night, encapsulates his experiences as a Jewish prisoner in various concentration camps during World War II. Throughout Night, Wiesel mentions things that he never shall forget. In his life, even after he had been freed from the camps and the war ended, Wiesel maintained all of the painful memories from the Holocaust, which I agree he should, instead of forgetting them. Firstly, it's important for Wiesel to keep the harrowing memories intact because there are already barely any Holocaust survivors still alive today, or people that experience World War II at all. And if those who are still alive don't tell their stories, who else will? He says this himself in the preface to the new translation of Night, that although no one can know what it was like to experience Auschwitz, other than those who actually experienced it, could they understand it if he chose to talk about it? He states that, quote, having lived through this experience, one could not keep silent no matter how difficult, if not impossible, it was to speak, end quote. Wiesel, page 10. Furthermore, quote, today there are anti-Semites, United States, who tell the world that the story of 6 million assassinated Jews is nothing but a hoax. Many people, not knowing any better, may believe them, end quote. Wiesel, page 12. And, quote, the witness has forced himself to testify for the youth of today, for the children who will be born tomorrow. He does not want his past to become their future. Wiesel, 15. With these quotes, the author is saying that no matter how hurtful it is to remember what he went through, it's important to him to recount his life and to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself. Additionally, to forget his time at Auschwitz and Buchenwald would be to forget the last memories he has with his father. Elie Wiesel mentions his father a lot during Night because he spent the majority of his time as a prisoner with his father. He describes how multiple times his father was his only reason for trying to stay alive, like during chapter 6 when they were running to Gleiwitz before they were sent to Buchenwald, that when he thought about, quote, the idea of dying began to fascinate me, to no longer feel the excruciating pain in my foot, to no longer feel anything, neither fatigue nor cold, nothing, to let myself slide to the side of the road. Wiesel, 86. He remembered his father. Quote, my father's presence was the only thing that stopped me. Wiesel, 86. Although it's unimaginable how painful it must be to recall those final moments with his father, it might still be comforting to know that without his father, he may not have lasted long enough to survive the Holocaust. On the other hand, it can be argued by some that after everything Wiesel went through, he should be allowed to put that part of his life behind him and forget, to live the rest of his life in peace. Nevertheless, it must still be taken into consideration that everyone is different. Some survivors may have chosen to forget the hurtful memories of their experiences, which is completely understandable. But Elie Wiesel chose to give his experiences a voice and share with the world what he endured, hoping that it would make a difference, that it would open people's eyes and make them see what not so long ago humanity decided to put a mass group of people through. Conclusively, after reading Night, readers should listen to what Elie Wiesel and so many other Holocaust survivors have to say. Hear their stories. This is what they lived through for too many years. This is what humankind put them through. We cannot let history repeat itself. And that's why Elie Wiesel chose to maintain his memories and put them to use by writing about them, making a difference with Night. Okay, let's think about the effectiveness of this essay as we consider the 5 areas from the development or organization of ideas portion of the rubric. Now, we won't be looking at the convention section of the rubric for our purposes today, but it will be rated when you submit your essay on the STAR or EOC exam. When we think about the argument in this essay, what do you notice? Is it clear and fully developed? You know, I see right here in the first paragraph, this student maintained and actually stated his or her argument. And I think it was done clearly, starting within his life, even after he had been freed from the camps and the war ended. Wiesel maintained all of the painful memories from the Holocaust, which I agree he should instead of forgetting them. He made a claim right there. And then he begins organizing his essay with firstly and providing some evidence. So when we consider organization and evidence, I can see this student beginning to piece together his argument in a very succinct way, an effective way, and he continues doing that throughout his piece here. And when we go on, there's his evidence supporting his argument, continues on to the next page. And he even comes back after his evidence and states his claim again, supporting what he said at the beginning of his essay here. This next paragraph starts with additionally, and he states more of his argument and supports it with evidence, which I think if we were to think about again, is the evidence specific, well chosen, and relevant to support his argument, we would have to say, yes, it is. I also like the word additionally as a way to organize his thoughts. Remember, if we were to go back to this slide here, he began with firstly, now we're with additionally. If we continue on, we can see on this slide here, he started this paragraph with, on the other hand, to indicate that there's a difference here. And we can see the counter argument coming out. It is identified and he refuted it. He said that, you know, on one hand, it can be argued that after everything that these people went through, these survivors went through, that, you know, maybe they want to live life by putting this behind them and forget and to live the rest of their life in peace. And some people would want to do that understandably. However, Elie Wiesel chose to give his experiences a voice so that the world would not repeat history. And so he gave that counter argument a rebuttal, if you will. And I would say that he identified and rebutted that counter argument, which is part of the rubric for argumentative essays. And again, we can see that effective organization. And even if we consider expression of ideas, is it clear and effective? I don't know about you, but I had no problem following along and understanding what this writer was attempting to say. It flowed nicely. I thought word choice was just fantastic, and it made a clear picture in my mind. And so again, I think expression of ideas was done effectively. And I like down at the bottom here where it says conclusively, wrapping it all up. It didn't leave me wondering what this particular writer was making a position about. I knew exactly his position. And again, throughout the essay, he gave evidence to support that position. So, with that being said, if we return to this argumentative rubric, you as a writer can absolutely write an essay that scores a 3 in development and organization of ideas if you focus on your argument and making it clear and fully developed, making sure that your counter arguments, or maybe there's just one counter argument, but making sure it's identified and refuted, making sure that you have effective organization and that the evidence that you choose is specific, it's well chosen, and it's relevant. And certainly that you are expressing your ideas in a clear and effective manner. Now, of course, you want to demonstrate that you have a consistent command of grade level appropriate conventions. It's all of that: sentence construction, punctualization. That's a combination of punctuation and capitalization, grammar and spelling. And you are no doubt capable of writing an argumentative essay that shows your writing skills at this level. Just continue to practice and put forth your best effort. So, with all that being said, I want to say thank you and best wishes. Good luck on your next exam. I know that you can do a great job.